Hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of TEDXcellence, the stream in which I attempt to stave off boredom and insanity while I'm locked up in my Corona bunker on the moon. I should preamble this with apologies for those of you who might be coming to this later on or late because of the mixed messages I was sending out on Twitter. It appeared there briefly that either StreamYards had crashed again, which has happened in the past, or my internet went out, or both. It's difficult for me to say. So the stream is starting a little late. I appreciate all of you who have stuck around this whole time, despite the delay, and those of you who have returned after I sort of gave a heads up on the Twitter machine. So that all being said, before the stream began, thank you, Point Curation. I'm glad you're here and doing this stream, Scribe. Yes, hair. We're going to be discussing hair today, apparently. The presentation in question is titled, "Is That All Your Hair?" Now, why would I pick something like this? Well, after the drama and pain and anger that was conjured after the last one in regards to, murder, drug deals, people being given apologies for participating in death of an innocent person, I thought I'd try to aim for something, no pun intended, a little more lighthearted or not as weighty as, mass incarceration and death and things like that. So we'll see where this goes. I don't know where it goes. I just checked it for audio quality, etc., and we'll see what happens. I have a feeling, though, it's going to be complaints of a very petty nature. But that's just my, prediction. Before we get there, let me say hello to all of you who have joined me today. And if I miss out on saying hi, because I'm a bit late into the chat as it is, please do make yourself known so I can say hello. And thank you. This is Kyle. Hello, chat people and scribbles. Hello, Kyle. Elish Norn, hello. Angela Ariaga, hello. Mike R, hello. Keeverdam, hello. Aether Toast, hello. That one servant of Satania, hello. Somnambulation, hello. Maniac Man 2030, hello. John Smith, hello. Functional, hello. Shiogorath, hello. Swan 732, hello. Fernanda, hello. Sean Uli, hello. I'm sure there are others who haven't said hello yet, but Truckin' Bear, hello. I should probably scroll up. That might save me some time, but I don't want to miss anybody. Dead Kaiser, hello. Thomas Cleaver, hello. Check Your Logic, hello. First name, last name, hello. Gunfox61, hello. Quinn the Cultist, hello. And Gear PG, or Geyer PG, something like that. Spy Demand, hello. Said he was late. No, you're not late. You're actually early this time around. Attack Alpaca, hello. Lucifer Never Changes, hello. John Rutherford, hello. All right, guys. So without much further ado, Sar Jim, hello. Let me get into this. Per usual, I will let it run for a little bit. It is a relatively short one today, only coming in just over 9 minutes. So about around half as long as most of these that I do. So it might be a short stream, depending on, or relatively short stream, depending on how infuriating the content is, but we'll see. All right, so here we go. Couple seconds to sound check. You guys let me know if you can hear it, and we will proceed. And Pinkall the Driving Ape Man, hello.
I remember when I was 8 years old, walking to go get my hair braided.
She remembers when she was 8 years old, walking to get her hair braided. You guys hear that? Let me know. Sounds good, says Somnambulation. Sounds good, says John Rutherford. Sounds good to Keeverdam. Okay. So, Atheist Icon says, can't hear you. Uh-oh, that's not good. Can you hear me? Everybody says sounds good. Atheist, you sure you don't have your volume down, perhaps? My mic isn't muted. Joke. Don't joke about those things. I get paranoid, as anybody who watches the Lords of the Night knows. So, all right, here we go.
I remember hearing the hair braider say to her fellow hair braiders as I approached, regardez tous les cheveux sur la tête de la fille, on dirait forêt sacrée.
Okay. I don't know what that meant. I try to avoid TEDx talks that aren't in English because I can't speak most other languages. I hope that was just a momentary thing. I guess we'll find out.
Which loosely translates as, look at all that hair on top of that child's head, looking like a sacred forest.
A sacred forest. That's kind of poetic.
Now, for those of you who are not familiar with West African culture and what a sacred forest denotes,
and decidedly I am not.
A sacred forest can be a place of initiation, of purification, of mystery and magic, but can also be a place of punishment and of curses.
And that's what was being laid upon you at 8 years old, someone calling your hair a sacred forest, I guess?
Now, I don't think that my hair braider meant to say that my hair was cursed.
But I don't know if there's a but coming, but it sounds like a but line.
She more so thought about it as a punishment because of its thickness, which she really connected to the density of a sacred forest.
Or a curse, depending, I guess.
So I grew up for the first 10 years of my life in the capital of Côte d'Ivoire, in Abidjan, in West Africa. I was surrounded by friends and family, but mostly by Black women, African-American women across the diaspora.
Wait, African-American women in Africa? Were they like expatriates that came back? Maybe I'm confusing something.
But for me, my hair was unfamiliar. All the women that surrounded me that looked like me had straight hair. Their hair was either permed, weaved up, or braided.
Okay.
I was unfamiliar.
Only if you were a stranger. Otherwise, wait. Are you meaning to say that simply the nature of your hair marginalized you?
So when I was about 12 years old, me and my family moved back to Oakland, California, a city full of rich history, culture, activism, but that had also come out on the other end of the crack epidemic. On weekends, I would watch music videos, unconsciously being influenced by Eurocentric notions of beauty.
Unconsciously being influenced by Eurocentric notions of beauty. But you're very conscious of it now, I guess. Okay, and I can only imagine where this is going.
When I graduated, when I went to high school, like any other 14-year-old, I wanted to belong. I experienced culture shock within my community of predominantly Black people and within my community at school of predominantly white people.
Uh-huh. High school is not easy for kids. You're shocking me with these revelations.
I so badly wanted to perm my hair. I wanted straight hair because I remembered when I was 10 years old in Ivory Coast trying to comb my hair and because of its thickness, breaking a comb.
Okay, I'm sure the tragedy of her hair is very important, but she's not making a very good case to me as to why I should care.
I begged my mother, Mom, please, let me get a perm. It would just be so much easier. And like the wise woman that she is, she didn't tell me yes or no. But she said, I want you to go and ask all the Black female women in your life that...
All the Black female women. The female women. Well, maybe that's a distinction that's necessary these days. I don't know.
Have perms, if you should do it.
Yes, you know, one of the most important decisions one can have in life is whether or not to go for a perm. I mean, it is a life-altering decision that can have unknown ramifications. Okay.
I asked my next door neighbor. I asked her older daughter. I asked my aunties. I asked my cousins. And every single one of these Black women told me don't do it.
No. You don't want to. Okay, I'm obviously out of my element here. First and foremost, I'm not a female. Secondly, I don't have long hair that has ever required all that much attention at the hair salon. And obviously, I do not have the kind of hair generally associated with African Americans or Black people. So maybe a perm in those instances and under those circumstances is a far more weighty decision than I'm giving credit to here. Maybe. I don't know, but it sounds trivial, at least to me. Maybe I'm wrong.
And they had perms. So I took matters into my own hands and I got a straightening comb, or known as a pressing comb, and I pressed my hair out.
Oh my God.
I was so proud. I felt good.
Wow.
And plus picture day was the next day.
Yeah, okay.
And so I go to school, I'm excited. I'm like, yeah, I got it. And one comment brings me back down to earth.
Oh.
A friend of mine says, girl, next time you do it, I need you to do it right. You cannot be looking like Pocahontas on top and Whoopi Goldberg at the roots.
Okay. Is that cultural appropriation? I'm not sure.
My hair was unfamiliar within and outside of my community.
Does that just sound like the most artificial complaint ever? My hair was unfamiliar in and out of my community. My hair was unfamiliar. Does it look that alien to anybody else? Like if I don't know. Again, maybe I'm missing something.
So when I graduated from high school, I went to college.
Wow.
And I attended a predominantly white institution, and it wasn't until my junior year.
Wait. What does the predominantly white institution have to do with anything? Why are you bringing up race as much as you are? I mean, I'm looking at her hair. I understand. Like I said, this is meant to be a departure from the relatively heavy and dark material that I was doing in the last show with mass incarceration and or murder and such. I'm looking at her hair. Is it just me, or do I not see anything out of the ordinary there? Like, I mean, is that some kind of extraordinary or bizarre hair nature to anyone? Style, thickness? I don't know. It doesn't seem that remarkable to me. But again, maybe I'm just too white to know.
That I actually got the courage to wear my hair naturally.
What is that sound? There's this sound every time she moves. I thought it was like maybe jewelry or something, but there's like this shaky sound rubbing up against her microphone. I guess her microphone might be coming off of her earbud or something. Maybe it's the hair.
I felt as though in Paris, no one knew me. I could experience the unfamiliar in a safe space.
What in Paris? So you're born, raised on the Ivory Coast, and now you're in Paris? Did I hear that right?
I wouldn't have the gaze upon me as I would have had it in the United States. I felt a sense of liberation, of transformation, of newness. I remember.
I think it's her earrings making that noise. I can't really see her earrings, but I can kind of tell that they're there.
One night washing my hair at the beginning of this unfamiliar journey, and for anybody who's a Black woman who just started their natural hair journey, you might understand.
Her natural hair journey. I'm trying to think if I've ever had a journey of personal grooming aesthetics. Maybe in growing facial hair or something, sort of. I don't know.
I washed my hair and I was so tired. I was like, okay, I'm just going to dry it and I'll go to bed.
Wow, this is thrilling.
Yeah, not a good idea. I woke up in the morning with matted hair.
Oh my God.
And tried to comb out my hair and pretty much yelped in the shower.
Oh no.
I graduated from Smith and got a really prestigious fellowship.
Okay, so nothing was basically holding you back from succeeding in college. All right.
a Fulbright. I remember feeling really proud of myself. I remember being excited, but I also remember the feelings of angst. I remembered my 8-year-old self, and I remembered the feelings of not belonging.
Oh, because of your hair? You got a Fulbright fellowship and your hair was weighing heavily on your mind, to put it mildly.
I remember the feelings of being unfamiliar.
So you were imposing on yourself a sense of what? Lack of self-confidence. You're insecure because of your hair, your entire life, all the way up through college. Sounds like you were doing this to yourself. I'm curious to know where this is going. Well, I mean, I'm academically curious to know where this is going.
So when I was getting ready to move back to Abidjan, I did what anybody does when they travel. I went on Facebook and I scoured meetup groups. I was looking for...
Wait, is that what anybody does when they travel? They scour meetup groups? Maybe I'm just an old fuddy-duddy at this point. A Gen X fossil. But is that what people do when they travel? They look up meetup groups on Facebook? I don't know. I understand it's a trivial question, but I'm always trying to learn.
Community for a group of women, Ivorian women, who talked about natural hair, because I knew that I would be going into an environment where it wasn't welcome.
What? Wait. So you're going back, and if I'm understanding it correctly, the place of your birth, or at least of your upbringing, and you knew you were going to a place where your hair would not be welcome. Does that make any sense to anyone? I understand that different cultures have different standards and prejudices and everything else, but really, your hair would not be welcome? I am very confused.
Especially professionally, especially at the Ministry of Justice where I'd be working.
Oh, the Ministry of Justice. So you wouldn't be welcome at the Ministry of Justice because of your hair. Well, then why even bother going? If you knew you would not be welcome, if you knew you'd be rejected out of hand because of your hair, well, why bother putting yourself through that pain and disappointment and difficulty? If there's no way of changing it, because that's just the way the world works. Okay.
And I found Nappies de Babi. Nappies means natural and happy, and de Babi is short for Abidjan.
Natural and happy Abidjan. Okay. Is this a support group for the follically challenged?
On weekends, I would attend meetup groups. We would talk about products to use in our hair, how we did our hair, how our experiences were, and just laughed and kikied. But we also talked about deeper issues, how our hair affected our career trajectory.
Okay. How our hair affected our career trajectory. I mean, okay, if you've got your hair up in a, neon green mohawk that's like 2 feet off the top of your head, and you're trying to be taken seriously in the, I don't know, the venture capitalist industry or something. Well, that might actually be an asset. You look like an outsider, a maverick or something. But really, how your hair affects your career trajectory? Really? I mean, again, I don't know what the culture of her homeland is, if it really is hair-centric and follicleist, or whatever that would be, but man, that sounds utterly ridiculous.
Our hair showed up in our personal relationships. It got so deep that we even started a movement and ended up on CNN.
You did? West Africa embracing its natural locks. Okay.
It felt good to be a part of this movement. Not only had I gained community, but I had also gained sisterhood.
Sure. And tailed features in the chat. Feskerma. I'd say something more poignant in Scotch Gaelic, but for some reason, my brain has been robbed of all coherent thought. Perhaps it's because it's grown out of the top of my head and into hair that is problematic somehow for my career.
So that was my life on the weekends. And obviously, I was at a fellowship, so I had to work during the week. And I remember every day when I would leave for work, specifically at 4:30, so I could miss the 3 hours of traffic, women in their cars would literally swerve and stop in front of me. And
I press X to doubt. I don't know what the remainder of her sentence is here, or her statement, or her anecdote. I press X to doubt.
And asked me one question. Ce sont tous tes cheveux? Is that all your hair?
Oh, okay, before I get into that, thank you, first name, last name. I couldn't get a security job, long hair. Should I be upset? With long hair, you maybe? Yes, you should. You should feel discriminated against. Okay, let's break this down for a minute, guys. Let's break this down for a minute. Now, I want to back up because I want to make sure I got this right. She was leaving for work. Was she driving at the time? Back up a second.
Would literally...
No. Back up a little bit more.
And I remember every day when I would leave for work, specifically at 4:30, so I could miss the 3 hours of traffic.
Okay, so she could miss 3 hours of traffic. Okay, so presumably with that statement, she is driving to work or driving home from work. I wasn't quite sure on that. Either way, she's in a car.
Women in their cars would literally swerve and stop in front of me.
Uh-huh.
And ask me one question. Ce sont tous tes cheveux? Is that all your hair?
Yes, so she's driving to or from work, depending on whatever interpretation I want to have there. And people would break traffic laws and risk their lives, their safety, or otherwise to ask her a question about whether or not that's her real hair. Now, okay, I'll extend it, even if I misunderstood, and I'm not sure. Now, I shall verify to all of you. I am currently drinking a pepper jack. In fact, this is probably my second one. So maybe I misheard. Maybe the inebriation. But I'll grant it. Either way, she's walking down the street. Let's just say she's walking down the street, and cars would swerve in front of her. Women in cars would just swerve in front of her, block her, cut her off in order to ask her, is that your real hair? And it would happen so often. It would happen with such regularity that she said it's just something that happens all the time. It's just a frequent occurrence. Over and over again, people would swerve in front of her, either in front of her moving car or her walking body, to inquire about whether or not that hair is real. Do you believe it, guys? Do you believe that story? I have a hard time believing that story, but then again, I am white.
Women selling and carrying mangoes would literally crook their necks around and ask me, ce sont tous tes cheveux? Is that all your hair?
I totally believe you. Thank you, Mr. Scott. J87, pepper jack makes the world taste better. It might help the medicine go down a little easier. And by medicine, I mean nonsense. But yeah, women selling mangoes would interrogate her over the authenticity of her hair. Women would swerve in front of her in their cars to interrogate the authenticity of her hair. The entire world, nay, the universe orbits the question of whether or not that is her real hair. I'm just going to jump ahead to the entire universe. I will stipulate all of it, and I totally believe it.
Now, at first it was funny. I was like, okay, this is amusing.
Sure. Amusing, ego stroking. You're making all of this up. Who knows?
But then I got curious.
Oh, did you? Curious about your own imagination or self-centeredness, maybe?
For me, identifying as an African and an African-American woman.
Wait. Identifying? But you are. You said you were from the Ivory Coast, and I assume at some point, all things considered, you've moved to America. So what do you mean identifying? I mean, by definition, by simple geography, place of birth, travel, you are. Why is it conditional? Like it's a choice or something? Okay.
Coming back to Africa as the motherland. This is where we come from as Black people.
Yes. Okay. The motherland. All right. And?
So I was confused as to how I was looking at a woman that I came from asking me about my natural hair.
Thank you, tall person. Hoy all. Happy day of the mushroom, everybody. Today's the day of the mushroom. You know, there was a really, really, really bad horror / thriller movie from the, God, I want to say it was the late 90s, early 2000s, just called Shrooms. Now, I don't recommend this movie unless you're going to watch it with a group of friends and make fun of it. So, I know, completely tangential mention here, but you know, tall person brought it to my mind. So if you want to watch a ridiculous horror / thriller movie with some friends, if you watch it by yourself, I think you'll be disappointed in general. With some friends, you might have some entertainment. Find the movie Shrooms and see what you think. I take no blame if you end up not liking it. I'm just saying. Anyway. So our speaker is bewildered as to why her hair is the center of the universe when she returned to Africa. Yeah, okay.
And so I wanted to have conversations, ask questions to Ivorian women, and ask them, why is it that when you see my hair, it's unfamiliar to you?
Why is it that the center of your universe, which is obviously me, is so important to you? I'm dying to know the answer to that question.
And so I started filming a documentary called, Is That All Your Hair?
You started filming a documentary about people talking about your hair. You know, look up the phrase Vanity Project in the Urban Dictionary and tell me if you don't find our speaker's picture.
So after I finished my fellowship, I moved back to the United States and I started working at Duke University. Now, the thing is, higher education was never created for me in mind.
Higher education was never created for you in mind. Higher education was never created for you in mind. I have the reflex to deconstruct that statement and the implications for a moment. Now, maybe she'll explain what she means in the next couple of sentences. But if she is referring to her gender or her race or her ethnicity, what would you think? I'll leave this up for you, chat and audience, to ponder on your own. What would you think her implication there says about what she thinks about certain people in this world? I'll just let that float out in the ether for the time being.
As being both Black and female.
Oh, okay. Higher education in the modern day, because the implication is, oh, well, back in the olden days. Yeah, but the olden days are the olden days. Let's talk about where we are right now. Let's talk about your lifetime, okay? Let's not talk about what is defunct, what is archaic, etc. Let's talk about right now. Higher education was not constructed for people like you. All right. Well, I guess that's an indictment of all higher education. Hell, I'd have to be curious then. If higher education in the modern day is not constructed to benefit people like you, why bother going to it? Why bother touting your accomplishments therein? Why drop names like Duke University or Fulbright? I mean, they're obviously constructed not to benefit you, and yet you retain their association as something to brag about. I mean, by all rights, you should remove them from your CV because they obviously represent a racist and or sexist institution of higher education. In fact, I mean, anything you might put on your resume that refers to a higher education gained from those institutions has to be false. I mean, it couldn't be legitimate. It couldn't be something to brag about. Obviously, the only way you gained those accolades, those diplomas, those certifications, was through pity. Not because you earned it, not because you had any opportunity to do so, because those institutions are racist and sexist. They must have just granted them to you as a token, as a gesture of mercy and pity on your inherent inborn flaws. Or am I supposed to interpret what you've just said differently? I'm always amazed at how many people undermine their own accomplishments by calling the institutions that grant them racist or supremacist or something, like Beto O'Rourke talking about his white privilege and how he's had so many advantages in life and he's had things handed to him because of his skin color. And then trying to look at the guy and say, well, then shouldn't you disown everything you've ever received by any institution ever, forever? It's obviously illegitimate. You obviously didn't earn it from your own merit. You just had it handed to you. And in this instance, if our speaker is being accurate, anything she's gained from such institutions must have been just, tokenized. Not really real, but just sort of handed to her to make them look good and feel good about themselves. I mean, talk about just completely hamstringing your own integrity, your own credibility. Anyway.
When I move around this campus, going to meetings and other events, the spaces are predominantly white and male.
Uh-huh. Tell us more about your fixation on race and gender.
I remember a conversation that I was having with a Black female colleague of mine during a break at a workshop. We were kikiing, having fun, catching up on life, and ultimately talking about hair.
Yes, because hair is a focal point. I was going to say follicle point, but I don't know if the pun would have come across as effectively. But now I've explained the joke, so I've got nowhere to go.
Where she recounted a comment that was made to her by one of her white female counterparts.
Oh, a comment made to her by one of her white female counterparts. So an anecdote within an anecdote. Okay, lay it on me.
Who said, "I have to stick my finger in an electric socket to get my hair to do that."
Oh my God. How horrible. How terrible. I'm sure it's racist or offensive in some fashion or something. You know, sort of like saying how higher education isn't constructed for people like me or something.
Unfamiliar. So when we talk about the unfamiliar, we're talking about something that unsettles us. This comment reminded me about my experience in high school in San Francisco, one of the most liberal cities, where I would get comments from my white peers that were not overtly racist, but
Whoa. Wait. Okay. I'm going to stipulate for the moment, for the sake of argument, that her version of reality that she has described is absolutely true. Okay? She has told us that the nature of her hair was not allowed or permitted or acceptable in her home country of the Ivory Coast. Now she's going into how the white peers of hers in high school were also intolerant of her hair. So, again, and I understand the world is not a binary situation of race, but in her world it seems to be. So, doesn't that mean that her hair is universally rejected? That it's not a matter of skin color, but that it just, as a nature of itself, is abhorrent to people, regardless of their race, regardless of their country of origin? Her hair is a problem, is a mystery. Why does she keep distinguishing between one race and the other when she's already told us that her hair is everyone's problem and her burden to bear? I'm just curious.
But that stung a little.
Did it sting a little? I guess it stung a little.
It reminded me of the comment about my hair looking like Pocahontas on top and Whoopi Goldberg at the roots.
Which was made to you by, if I'm not misremembering, and correct me if I'm wrong, by one of your black classmates. Okay.
It's really known as a microaggression.
A microaggression? Okay. All right. Everybody misstates things and mumbles over their words at times. I'm no different. All the same. Microaggression. Oh, one of my favorites. A statement, action, or incident regarded as an instance of indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination against members of a marginalized group, such as a racial or ethnic minority. What's the key word in that definition? Unintentional. You know, there's a part of law, and I learned this in college, so it must be true. There's two elements that you have to prove in order to prove that a crime was committed. There's actus reus and mens reus. Actus reus is the actual action of the crime. You know, you did something and you violated someone's safety or rights or whatever else. At the same time, you also have to prove mens reus, the mentality of the crime or the mentality of the action. So motive and action. If you have an action, such as taking someone's life, but there was no mentality of murder, you could conceivably prove manslaughter or negligent homicide or self-defense, depending on the circumstances. If you have the mentality for a crime, but no action, you don't really have a crime. Like, I'm thinking I'm going to rob that store today. Maybe I have every intention to, but I never actually enact it. Well, there's no crime. So let's look at this social equivalent here. Unintentional If there is no intent to discriminate, if there is no intent to offend, if there is no intent to marginalize, is it really a crime? Now, how do you determine intent? Well, oftentimes you have long court cases with lots of evidence to determine intent and motive, etc., etc. It's not a very easy thing to do because, even though several TEDx speakers would like us to think otherwise, they are not mind readers. They're not psychics. They don't know what people are actually thinking when they decide to interpret an action or a phrase or whatever else as having the worst possible meaning. So, unintentional, it's already accepted as part of the process. It's part of the equation. Even if you didn't mean it, even if you had no thought in your head, it's still a crime. That's what makes microaggression so interesting. You can be convicted of thought crime in the absence of any intention, of any forethought. It's amazing, isn't it? Thank you, Atheist Icon. Fall for the headaches. Oh, sorry, for all the headaches. Whew. Yes, for all the headaches. I appreciate it. If I don't give myself a migraine. Okay, and that's just the first point. Second point, indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination against members of a marginalized group. Okay, 6 of one thing, half a dozen of the other. You might as well not have 2 points on there. They're both the same thing. And the key phrase in both is unintentional, which is, of course, irrelevant. It doesn't matter if you had or did not have any intent. You said a thing that offended me, therefore you're guilty. That's it. That's how microaggressions work. I'm at least glad that she included the word unintentional in her 2 yet singular definition. Because that says a lot. That says a lot about what it actually is. It also says a lot about how she doesn't care what your intention was. As long as she interprets it as bad, it's bad.
Which is a statement, an action, or an incident regarded as an instance of indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination against members of a marginalized group, such as a racial or ethnic minority. Also known as an indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination against members of a marginalized group.
It's not also known as. You just took words directly out of your first definition and created a slightly truncated definition. It's the same definition. I don't know why you'd have 2 points there. They say exactly the same thing.
So I want to ask you 2 questions. How do you think about your hair?
How do I think about my hair? Well, if you're talking about the hair on my scalp, I only think about it in so much as if I'm going out in public, I want it to look nice, at least as I interpret nice. So I part it and, sort of plaster it down a little bit with maybe some water, maybe a little bit of, if it's particularly unruly on a day, maybe some hair gel. I always keep my hair relatively short, high and tight, as they call it. Professional looking. It's always how I've had it. It's kind of how I learned to maintain it from my father's example as I was growing up. As far as my facial hair is concerned, well, I'm kind of been growing out a quarantine beard, not because Jim Carrey told me to, but just out of like laziness and curiosity over the last several weeks. So I've got a bit more facial hair now than I did before all this started. Otherwise, I usually have a mustache and a little goatee thing. It looks pretty good, I think. For me, it's kind of my thing. But right now I've got a more fuller beard. So how do I think about my hair? Well, I keep it clean. I keep it tidy. I keep it well-maintained. Because, my personal appearance to the rest of the world is an expression of my own, personal pride. My personal sense of self-worth. After a fashion. I don't think about it that deeply unless I'm asked about it, like in this instance. But yeah, that's how I think about my hair. Keep it clean, keep it tidy, keep it looking nice. Because it's an expression of how I feel about myself. That's how I think about my hair.
Is your hair a part of your identity?
No. No, I don't think of it that way. I mean, insofar as someone could see me from across the street and identify me as me versus someone else, maybe, I guess. I don't know. But Oh, and that I relatively match the picture on my driver's license. I suppose it's a part of my identity. If I grew out an entire gigantic beard and grow my hair out long and tried to change my appearance, maybe I'd be trying to obscure my identity. But it's not an expression of who I am necessarily, unless I was going for a style that said something about my cultural beliefs or something. So for me personally, no. It's more out of habit and personal comfort than it is identity. I don't know what kind of person I would be if I started looking at my hairstyle as an aspect of my identity, an aspect of my personal style, personal preferences. Again, maybe you're getting into a gray area of what defines identity, but in the sense that I think you're referring to it, no.
These are questions that I've now started to ask young Black female undergraduates here at Duke in a new series that I'm doing on natural hair.
Why don't you ask just people in general? Why are you limiting the question to gender and race? Why do you think it's so special and so specific to that demographic? Why are you being discriminatory in regards to hair?
As they move around this campus and wanting to understand their experiences at a predominantly white institution.
Predominantly white institution. Okay, you're making it about race when you've already told us that the questions over your hair go beyond racial boundaries. But okay.
So when we think about what is unfamiliar, we're really thinking about what is unsettling to us.
No, not necessarily. Unsettling and unfamiliar are two different words. Right? I can walk down the street and see someone that I have never met, never spoken to. Are they unfamiliar? Yes. Are they unsettling? Not necessarily. They just might be a person I'm coming across. But if you want to equate unfamiliar with inherently unsettling, I am mightily curious to know what the world looks like that you move through.
What makes us uncomfortable? What is strange? So when I think about something that's strange, it's something that invites me in, that we can think about as a challenge.
Well, let me back up to that slide because that went by too quick. Come on. Strange. Unusual or surprising in a way that is unsettling or hard to understand. Okay, but there's that word there, or. Doesn't necessarily mean unsettling. It may be just outside of your experience. And all of this is centered around your hair. I'll be honest, when I found this video, when I, processed the audio to make sure it was clear, etc., and had to look at various pictures in order to create a thumbnail for this stream and everything else, I'll tell you what, the last thing from my mind in regards to our speaker's appearance was strange. Nothing about her appearance, to me, was marked in my mind as strange. Now, maybe I'm just special. Maybe I'm part of the 0.019999 whatever percentage in her universe where nothing about her was remarkable to me. But yeah, no, nothing about her was strange as I started getting this ready. So maybe I'm unique. Oh, well, I know I'm unique. I mean, I tell myself that I'm unique. My mom thinks I'm cool.
That we can think about as a challenge to question with curiosity and respect. So as I close, I'd like to ask you this question. What unsettles you and makes you uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar? Thank you.
What unsettles me because it's unfamiliar? What unsettles me because it's unfamiliar? Oblivious racism. That unsettles me. And I'm not just talking about our speaker, though I think she falls within that category to a certain extent. But in general, as many of you may have seen throughout the course of my videos and streams and elsewise, I am constantly unsettled, worried, and bewildered by the amount of benevolent, oblivious racism that people profess these days as though it were something natural and understood and good to talk about. You know, the soft bigotry of low expectations of certain demographics, or the inherent evil of other demographics simply on the basis of their skin color. That's unsettling to me. Hair doesn't unsettle me unless it's like filthy or matted or mangy or something like that. That might unsettle me. There are a lot of those videos out there of like rescue animals where they find, like in India or something, they find some dog or some cat on the side of the road who's just barely alive, and their fur is just this solid mass of yuck. And you watch them as they painstakingly remove this nasty stuff from their body in order to let them heal and refresh themselves and let them clean up and get healthy again. That disturbs me. That kind of hair disturbs me. But generally speaking, I don't come across that in human beings, thankfully. And so in the everyday course of my quote unquote social business, hair doesn't bother me. That lady's hair did not bother me. It didn't even occur to me to wonder if her hair was special somehow. You know, even with the title of the presentation, which was, let me just repeat it again, "Is that all your hair?" I mean, I wasn't quite sure how to interpret that. Like, well, you see the hair on her head. I'm assuming she might have hair elsewhere on her body, but that seems like kind of an adult, mature thing to be asking on a TEDx talk. So was the question like, can that possibly be your natural hair? Is that some kind of extension? Is that some kind of wig, etc.? She never really brought that up, but hell, I don't know. The universe does not revolve around an individual's hair in my book, except, I guess, in her universe. Anyway, I think I've said plenty on that, so I'll take the next few minutes here to round out the hour to take your comments or questions or otherwise. Scrolling up a bit. Let's see. Straight Sith male, hello. I haven't brushed my hair in going on 20 years outside of my beard. I'm not sure what to say to that. Please tell me you've at least washed your hair. As long as you've washed your hair, it can be all over the place, but just tell me you've washed your hair. That one servant of Satania, what a haircist. Steve Luzon, Scribelight, you be woke, man. Oh, I'm totes woke. You get a couple of pepper jacks in me, I'm really awake. Somnambulation, it's just your hair, Scribelight. Yeah, my hair is a thing of beauty. To me, I don't expect it to be a thing of beauty to anybody else because I don't project the importance of myself onto the rest of the world so much. I say, as I'm live streaming to an audience of people who want to listen to me talk about a hair TEDx. Oh boy, nothing for you here. There's only one scribe worth my time on the internet. Aw, thank you. Let's see. Miss Slim 1, she's racist and needs attention. I mean, I don't know how else to interpret that diatribe of hers. Look at my hair. See how people find it a problem. You don't find it a problem, do you? If you find it a problem, you're obviously racist or xenophobic or something. I don't know. Let's see. Sarah Jim says, shiny bald heads disturb me. That suddenly reminds me, as so many things do tangentially, of a song my dad used to sing, probably still sings. He says, I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I live in a garbage can. I never go swimming with bald-headed women. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I never understood what the hell that meant when I was a kid. Like, I thought the only people who lived in garbage cans was like Oscar the Grouch. And I never go swimming with bald-headed women. I never quite understood that. I mean, I could make some innuendos now as an adult as to what that might mean, but it still doesn't make any sense, except it's a funny rhyme, you know. Now, have I known any bald-headed women? Well, there was a girl in high school who shaved her head like completely. It wasn't like down to the skin, but you know, there was no hair. There was just peach fuzz on her head, and I thought she was pretty. Of course, I thought she was pretty before she did that too, so maybe I was biased. So I don't inherently have anything against quote unquote bald-headed women, but you know, I like a little bit of locks on my women. My women. Boy, that sounds possessive. But then I am a bit of a dom. Some emulation says bow-legged women scribe light, not bald-headed. Well, my father sang bald-headed, not bow-legged. He said bald-headed. So I don't know if that was his own twist on it, but that's what he said. So let's see. Mike Savage says, just got 500 liters of heating diesel. Bloody hell, is it cheap now? 266 pounds for the 500, cheaper for kerosene with the planes grounded. I don't know much about airline fuel or jet fuel or anything else, except that apparently it melts steel beams. So, hey, if you got a deal, a penny saved is a penny earned. Let's see. Gunfox61. I like girls with bony tails, good for grabbing. I could go either way with ponytails or pigtails, or depending. It depends. Parody Bear, scribe, do a full hour on bald-headed women because of a childhood rhyme. I didn't do this because of that rhyme. That just came up. You know, he mentioned bald-headed women, and that's where my mind goes. You guys know I go all over the place. You know, random implications of something causes a strange memory or trivia in my head. That's just the way my mind works. I can't tell you. What else? Data Wasteland, jet fuel melts steel beams that it doesn't even touch, scribe light. Yes. So I'm told. Let's see. And, well, I mean, I'm at a loss for anything else to say that I haven't already said about our speaker. I'm glad that this was a bit more, let's say, lighthearted or lighter of topic from the last one, guys, if you watched the last TEDx stream. And for those of you that haven't, I apologize, even though it's really not my fault, for the roboting about 3/4 of the way through the stream. I listened back to it, and it's pretty bad in spots. It does clear up after a while. But hey, live TV, coronavirus, overwhelming of internets, StreamYards, etc. I do what I can. But apparently this stream went off all right. So, hey, you know, I'll take them as I can get them. Angela Arriaga says, scribe of the wandering mind, she hurt my head. Yes, she did. I'm going to have to grow out some more hair to ease the pressure. But with that, guys, we're coming up on an hour. And that's as long as I usually want to let these things go unless I can avoid it. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I apologize for the wonky start, as it were, for technical difficulties, live TV, etc. I don't know if I learned anything, but I was entertained. And at the end of the day, isn't that the important part? Again, thank you guys for coming out today. Thank you for your participation. Thank you, everyone who donated. Your generosity always humbles me. Remember, tonight, over on Satsu 2 Senses channel, we'll be having Lords of the Night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, where you'll hear more of me, likely more sober than I am right now, talk about probably anything other than hair, because there's other things that go on in the world aside from someone's personal vanity. Although with Donald Trump, you can hardly tell sometimes. But anyway, guys, thank you for coming out. Thank you for joining me. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll probably have another one ready to go on Saturday. I will let you know on Twitter. And otherwise, hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon. And I will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.